it's something of a tease from President Trump. We're about a month now, since just over a month since Liberation Day, and the president was making the point that there may or may not be some agreements coming this week. And he wasn't being specific. He wasn't. He was quite vague, and he was being asked by reporters about this. But what we do know from administration officials is that talks are ongoing with several countries. They have identified at different times. Japan is near the top of that list. India could be near the top of that list. South Korea could be near the top of that list. So there could be some kind of agreement reached with one of those at some point soon. Now, the question then becomes the details of that agreement.
Mm-hmm.
That's where everybody will be parsing this. What sort of moves had to be made on non-tariff barriers to satisfy Washington, for example? What kind of concessions had to be made on maybe investment into the US? Where will the actual US tariffs settle? All of those will obviously offer nuggets for sure, but it also may offer a roadmap for other economies to say, hang on a sec, we can do that too, and come to the table to the US to try and work it out. So, we don't have specifics yet. It's a little bit vague, but clearly something's coming down the pipes at some point soon.
But I understand that the agreement versus like an MOU versus a deal, they all mean different things. But do we think anything that's on paper at this point, even if it's a memo of understanding, would that count as getting something done and tick that box?
And as the role of Congress and all of this, so skeptics say, look, negotiating a real meaningful trade deal takes months, if not years, of protracted trade talks. Okay, so clearly that can't be done in weeks. Nonetheless, I think what people are looking out for is, first of all, what is actually agreed, but most importantly, where will US tariff rates settle in the near term? So remember all of those, what were described as reciprocal tariffs, remember those levels that were set pretty high for, many trading partners right around the world. If the tariff level is maybe back towards this 10% baseline level, then that might suggest that, that's where things might settle. If you cut deals with the US, and you settle for that baseline 10%, that's the way forward. But of course, if it's not and that tariff level is higher, that's what I think a lot of people are going to be keeping an eye out for.
Who's driving the bus here? Is it the president? Is it his trade advisors? Who's because there's a lot of balls in the air when you think about all the countries that are presumably in negotiations with the U.S.
Yeah, I think there must be at least a dozen or so in serious negotiations. And then, of course, they say they're talking to up to 70, I think it is, odd governments altogether. It seems to be different personalities playing different roles. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is clearly front and center for the Asia trade talks. He's kind of made that clear. The trade representative, Greer, obviously is kind of the technical guy behind the scenes. He would be involved in all of this. And of course, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, he seems to be more vocal maybe on the European side, but they're all playing their role. They're all part of it. But ultimately, as all the officials say, and as we can say to the outside looking in, ultimately President Trump will make that agreement. He will decide whatever will be decided. The market rally in recent weeks will, of course, give the administration a lot of confidence that what they're trying to do is the right thing. But at the same time, we all know that they got pretty nervous, a couple of weeks ago when they did pull back and put that pause on reciprocal tariff. So a lot of focus on what level of tariff will be agreed in the near term and what the roadmap will be from there on for all the countries involved in this.